Starting your day off with a take on Vegas you won't get anywhere else.
Hi, I'm Holly Madison, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hi, this is William Shatner, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and I listen to Brian Shapiro. Why? Because I'm a good American. So is he. And if you don't listen to him, you need to pack up and leave this country.
This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Come on, guys!
And I listen to Brian Shapiro and Sharp and Shapiro. Good afternoon, 6 o'clock here in Las Vegas, and it is time for the Vegas Tape. Sitting in for Sharp and Shapiro, I'm Brian Feldman, and welcome to the show. We appreciate you. You can call the studio line here at KDWN. That's 101.5 FM, 720 AM, 702-257-5396. Give me a call. I am still reeling today, as most of you are. It's only been, 48 hours, not even, since we've had the sting of Game 7 in San Jose up in the Shark Tank, where the Vegas Golden Knights lost in overtime 5-4. One of the most controversial calls in hockey playoff history, maybe even in hockey history. And I'm still sick about it. I don't know if you are. Please give me a call by all means if you want to discuss it. I have attended every playoff game the last 2 years. Haven't missed a game on television. This is crazy. It's still reeling. I was down at City National Arena this morning at 9 o'clock. They had a press conference. Actually started about 9:25 or so. Gerard Gallant spoke first. Then General Manager George McPhee came on. And then after we got done with that, we went into the locker room and got to talk to all the players. They're in as good a spirits as they can be today. I got a chance to talk with Marc-Andre Fleury. I talked with Paul Stastny, Max Pacioretty, talked with Cody Eakin. Pierre-Edouard Bellemare was in there. Nate Schmidt, got a chance to talk to him. Jonathan Marchessault had a good conversation with Braden McNabb and with John Merrill, a couple of the key defensive players for the Vegas Golden Knights. And I'm just telling you right now, let me know your thoughts. Again, 702-257-5396 if you want to talk about this. But if you want me to break it down simply, and by the way, I should have mentioned that we will be hearing shortly from Dan Duva. He is the radio voice of the Vegas Golden Knights over on Fox Sports Radio. I also have a show over there as well, Sunday mornings, if you'd like to check it out. It's called Out of Line. It is from 8 to 9 on Sunday mornings over on the Vegas Golden Knights station. But seriously, again, Dan Duva will be joining us, and I'm looking forward to getting his thoughts. A little bit after that, also, Alan Snell will be joining the show. Alan is basically the founder, creator, columnist for LVSportsBiz.com, over 50,000 subscribers strong. And if you haven't checked out Alan's columns, he talks about the business side of sports, some very interesting material. It's great reads. Alan also wrote a book, The Road Back to Vegas. He is a very big bicycle enthusiast and was in a severe, nearly catastrophic, or I should say fatal bicycle accident down in Florida. It turned out not to be. Alan has since recovered, moved back to Vegas, and started LVSportsBiz.com. And again, it is a great read. It's always hot on what's going on, be it the Vegas, one of the stadiums, the Las Vegas ballpark, the Raiders Stadium, really cool. But Alan will be joining us after the 7:30 break. At the top of the next hour, JD, of course, Sharp will be joining. He'll be calling in. Him and Brian are at the NFL Raiders draft party. So Sharp will be calling in for that. I'm looking forward to hearing that. So far, the draft kind of has gone through plans. I went through and did a first-round mock draft. So far, after it, I only heard it up until the Tampa Bay Buccaneers pick. So far, I am dead on, except the Raiders surprised the hell out of me. A pick I didn't have going to in the 20s, they took with the 4th pick. If you haven't heard yet, the Oakland Raiders with the 4th pick in the NFL draft selected Cleveland Farrell, the defensive lineman out of Clemson. The guy's solid, okay? There's nothing wrong with him. He had 38 tackles last year, 21 sacks. That's in the last 2 seasons. He is solid, is good. I just think with all the draft picks they had, they could have done a better pick in the first round. My opinion, I'll get your thoughts. And if you wanted to chime in on who you thought the Raiders should pick, give me a call, 702-257-5396. But again, real quickly, before Dan comes on, I'm going to break this down for you, and then you can chime in with your opinion, and I'll tell you what it was, because people continue to ask what happened. And you get a lot of people out here in the business and outside of it that are saying, you know what? The Vegas Golden Knights had a 3-1 lead in the series, okay? They lost game 1 in San Jose, came back and won the next 3 games, and definitely looked like the better team in all 3 of them. And then they had 3 chances to close out the Sharks and didn't do it. So forget about the penalty. Forget about what happened. Forget about, a 5-minute major game misconduct where 4 goals were scored, and say, you know what, the Knights should have done it in one of the other 2 games before getting to Game 7. Is that the way you feel? If it's the way you feel, give me a call, 702-257-5396. If it's the way you feel, I'll tell you just simply, you're dead wrong. Okay, you're dead wrong. It's that simple. The bottom line is this. They earned the right for 7 games. So why are you going to take that away from them? They lost 2 games in a row. It ended up being 3 in a row after Game 7. But the Knights had just won 3 in a row from the Sharks. Should you be mad if you're a Sharks fan after Game 4 saying, God, you took a 1-goal game series lead, you had home ice advantage, and you blew it? You can look at it however you want. Let's look at the numbers. The Golden Knights in that game, okay, against the San Jose Sharks, took almost 60 shots on net, and Martin Jones let in 1. Let me tell you the last time Martin Jones has made 60 saves in a game. You want to know when? Close your eyes and tell me what you see. Never. He didn't do it in peewee hockey. Okay, the guy on a good night is inconsistent. And yet, the last couple games of the Stanley Cup playoffs in the first round, that old adage stood on his head. Yes, that's what he did. He played very, very well. He didn't play so great in Game 7. But like the rest of the San Jose Sharks, when Joe Pavelski went down with a phantom in the face cross-check, which we all know was in his chest, the blood was caused by a bad fall. Joe Pavelski took a bad fall. I'm not going to say he acted or anything like that when you watch it in real time. He kind of ran into stats and he was just trying to get out of the way after Cody Eakin basically cross-checked him, if you want to say that. If you watch the NHL on face-offs, about 60% of the face-offs in the National Hockey League, you will see a guy, if you want to call it technically cross-check another player, what he's doing is moving him out of the way to get at the puck. That's all he's doing. There was no malicious intent. There was no desire by Cody Eakin to hurt somebody. When has Cody Eakin hurt anybody in his life? Maybe in 7th grade he beat up the bully Billy Smith or something like that? I mean, seriously, guys, Cody Eakin, he's a gnat. He is disruptive. He is a great penalty killer. He is not an abusive guy. He is not a guy that attacks or goes at people. I can't even believe I'm having the conversation about Cody Eakin. The bottom line is this. The referees and the officials blew it. They blew it. At worst, this should have been a 5-minute major cross-checking penalty. The minute a goal is scored on a 5-minute major, they go back to full strength. It's just like a 2-minute penalty. It's just they get 5 minutes to put the puck in the net. That's it. But when there is a game misconduct, and we all probably know this by now, we've heard this rule. It's been rehashed 1,000 times over the last 48 hours. When it's a game misconduct, the penalty continues until the penalty ends, no matter how many goals are scored, and we saw 4 goals scored. Let me tell you why this happened. Do you want to know why it happened, why the 4 goals happened? Let me give you this right now. They happened because most of the San Jose Shark players did not see what happened. So they are figuring, in those 5 minutes of that major penalty, wow, Cody Eakin just kicked Joe Pavelski's ass illegally, made him bleed, broke his head open, and they got fired up. Like they weren't already fired up because Joe Pavelski went down. But they see Cody Eakin getting booted. They see him going to the exit. And when Cody Eakin goes to the exit, what happens is they all assume right away, that Cody Eakin did something terrible. He must have done something horrific. If in fact he must have done something terrible. If in fact, again, Cody Eakin did not. He must have done something terrible, and that's why they all got fired up. Listen, we got to take a real quick early break if we can. We're going to take a quick early break. We're going to have Dan Duva on after the break, and I apologize, stumbling here. We got to make sure we got the right number. I'm going to have Dan Duva on after the break, and then after that, we will again at the bottom of the hour. We'll have Alan Snell. We've got Sharp coming up at the top of the hour at the NFL draft party for the Raiders. And, of course, we have TMZ Sports, man. That's going to be interesting, too, in the second hour. We're going to take a real quick break now. We'll come back with Dan Duva. We're back. It is the Vegas Take. I'm Brian Feldman, pinch hitting for Brian Shapiro and JD Sharp. We will be here right up until the 8 o'clock hour. Right now, we're starting off, as you know, talking Vegas Golden Knights and my reasoning for what happened. And again, I apologize for the little combobulation there. We were trying to get the phone number right. And right now, Ken, the producer, is on the phone getting hold of Dan Duva. He'll be joining us in 1 second. But again, my take is because the Sharks did not know exactly what happened, that motivated them even more. The Vegas Golden Knights were shell-shocked. The ones that saw what happened are like, what's going on here? The rest of them are like, Cody Eakin's being ejected. I don't think anyone really knew what was going on. And before we knew what happened, 4 goals were scored. Yes, you can say the Golden Knights should have been played better defensively. But again, the way it transpired and went down, nobody knew what the hell happened. Like I said, the Sharks players are watching Joe Pavelski go into the locker room. They don't walk past the bench when he goes in. They go in a different area, so they still don't know what happened. And if the Sharks coaching staff are smart, they act like Cody Eakin did cross-check him in the face. Make it as bad as can be, and those players played with fervor. It was a whole different team. Even Martin Jones got rejuvenated from the penalty, and the game changed. It was that simple. Joining us now on the line is Dan Duva. He is the voice of the Vegas Golden Knights over on Fox Sports Radio, where I have my show on Sunday mornings. Dan, welcome to the Vegas Take.
How's it going? Good to be with you.
I appreciate it, and thank you, my friend. I honestly would say it's going good, and usually being in this business a long time, being from Detroit, I've watched the Wings for years break my heart before they finally broke through and won the Stanley Cup. I've seen a lot of things. Dan, I haven't seen anything like I did on Tuesday night, and it's still, to say that I feel like I drank a gallon of sour milk might be an understatement.
Yeah, Paul Stastny kind of put things in context by referring to a conversation he had with his dad. Peter Stastny's a Hall of Famer who's been in the game one way or another for about 50 years, and Peter Stastny has never seen anything like what happened Tuesday night. So I certainly can't compare to that breadth of experience. And as it was happening, it's hard to put everything in context because, first of all, you're on the air live. You're wondering, are you missing something? Your eyes tell you one thing. You see one replay, then another, and you think you know what's going on. And Cody Eakin himself is sent to the box, and he's saying to himself, well, gee, I didn't do anything. And then, and Cody explained this all today to the media, they come over to the penalty box, and they take Cody Eakin out of the penalty box. So he's thinking to himself, oh, good, they figured it out. They know I didn't do anything, so I'm not getting a penalty. And they said, oh, no, you're out of the game. 5-minute major, you're out of here. And he leaves, and he stayed in his equipment because he didn't know that it was a game misconduct and thought maybe if the game made it to overtime, he could come back. So you can only imagine what's going through Cody's mind. He didn't do anything wrong. Gary Lawless, on the radio broadcast with me, he's got connections all over the league, and he talked with one other NHL coaching staff that watched the video of the play and has a scouting report on Cody Eakin taking faceoffs and what he does there at the draw, kind of bringing his stick up and kind of shoving the other guy in the chest. That is part of the faceoff craft. There is an art to taking a draw, winning a draw, and Cody is always trying to improve in that aspect. So other coaches know how to scout faceoff strategy. And unfortunately for Joe Pavelski, he was just unprepared for Cody Eakin's strategy. And that's why he kind of got tangled up and went down and unfortunately was injured and bloodied. But the bottom line is the officials totally blew it. Instead of calling an action that they saw, they called what was a reaction. And that's just not right. Kerry Frazier, the longtime NHL referee who makes himself available to the media, on television, on Twitter, he has made it quite clear that it should not have even been a penalty, let alone a major. So you can break it down to the hilt. I think that even the fact that the league offered an apology to Bill Foley directly on a phone call, that is about all you need to know. The league, the referees on the ice totally blew it, and the league admitted it.
Yeah, the series supervisor, Don Van Massenhoven, he said the major penalty was given because the cross-check caused a significant injury. It's funny because that night I heard that they went to the bench and said it was a cross-check in the face, so they changed their story after the game. But I'm happy that the league apologized to Bill Foley, Dan, and I was there in the locker room today as well. Saw both Gerard Gallant and then, of course, George McPhee address the media. And I was actually sitting there. I heard exactly what Cody Eakin was saying, heard what Paul Paul Stastny said about his dad as well. Like, he's never seen anything like this. And everyone was right. And what you said, I called attention to at the beginning of the show. I said, at least 60% of draws in the National Hockey League, what you're doing is you are pushing the guy back to attain possession of the puck or to get him away from you. It has nothing to do with cross-checking, and Stastny just happened to be there. He was trying to get out of the way. Joe Pavelski took a horrible fall, and maybe because the fall was so bad, and maybe Cody Zeke and cross-check caught him pretty good, even though you do it all the time, okay, give him a 2-minute penalty. And at worst-case scenario, if you give him a 5-minute major, we're all pissed, but it's one goal, and then we're at full strength again. And I said today, Dan, and I got to believe we're going to see this change. When it comes to a game misconduct, especially in the postseason, why not go to Toronto, go to the monitors, and make a judgment call there?
Totally. You're exactly right. And you think about putting it in context with the other major sports, the 4 major team sports in the United States and Canada. There is not a penalty more severe than a major. It's one thing to give a player a 10-minute misconduct or a game misconduct that player is unavailable. But in terms of affecting the outcome of a game, to have a team shorthanded for 5 minutes, and that's the way a major power play works, it's the most severe of penalties. And only in the most egregious of circumstances should such a penalty be assessed and therefore a 5-minute power play awarded. And you just think to yourself, how in the world did they assess that, given that they could not have actually seen it? Imagine, we have, a lot of folks have put this with respect to last year in the New Orleans Saints, and a blown call there cost them a Super Bowl appearance. And that's true, absolutely true, and credit to the NFL. Plenty of critical things you could say about that league, but they at least addressed it in reacting to that blown call. But remember, we're talking there about a touchdown, one score, right? 7 points. We're not talking about one goal or 2 or even 3. We're talking about 4 goals. I mean, imagine if in a baseball game you just gave one team a grand slam. It's just... Well,
then like 5 batters come up and you throw the ball underhanded.
Exactly. And then even to think, I was trying to put something, I'm thinking back to when has something so egregious been overturned? And I thought back to the pine tar incident with the Kansas City Royals.
George Brett.
And that game was played under protest. At the time, the Royals lost the game, but because the protest was upheld by the league, they went back and they picked the game up from where it was left off, and the Royals ended up winning the game 5-4. Kirk Gibson. Obviously that's not going to happen here. So the only recourse is, as you say, putting into effect here in 2019 when they can review an offside down to the millimeter with a camera on the blue line, but you can't review something so impactful as a 5-minute major that never should have been. Obviously, that needs to be implemented. Bill Foley said as much, and he'll make that case clear to the Board of Governors, and I'm sure the players will do the same to the NHL Players Association. And it's not just in hockey at the NHL level. In college hockey, already in place is a rule that allows the officials to review if a 5-minute major should be assessed. If you watch an NBA playoff game or even a regular season game, if there is the assessment of a flagrant foul, the officials are going to go look at the video before they kick a player out of the game. Because let's not forget, not only do the Golden Knights have a 5-minute penalty to kill there, they all of a sudden are without Cody Eakin, who did nothing wrong, and he's one of their best penalty killers. So it's not just the fact that the Knights were shorthanded for 5 minutes and then obviously they give up the 4 goals. Cody Eakin is unavailable because of the compounded effect of the terrible call.
This is the Vegas Take. I'm Brian Feldman, sitting in for J.D. Sharp and Brian Shapiro. Joining us on the phone, the voice of the Vegas Golden Knights on Fox Sports Radio, Dan Duver, right now. And we are talking, obviously, about Game 7 and the Vegas Golden Knights getting ousted from the playoffs in the first round by the San Jose Sharks. And, Dan, there are so many superlatives you can put with this if you want to. And, the way I felt, and I said after the game, and I still feel this way, the only way to describe it, I'm trying to, an emotion. I feel like I just got broken up with by a girl. It's like I'm hurt. I'm in pain. Being a fan, it's crazy because, like you said, this was Game 7 of a playoff series. It changed the course of history, potentially. Right. And when you're talking about a expansion team that went to the Stanley Cup Finals last year and had an opportunity to be... Now, granted, getting through Colorado would be very tough. They are playing tremendous hockey. Getting through either St. Louis or Dallas would be tough just to get back to the finals. Granted, I'll accept all that. But the bottom line is they would have had an opportunity to do that. And how much more cool would history have been if an expansion team goes back to the finals? That opportunity is gone, and they can't go back and erase it like they did the Pine Tar incident. Like you said, this sticks forever, and it hurts. And the bottom line is, and answer me something, Dan, if you would. I assessed it and said that after the penalty, and watching it, I'm like, oh my God, I'm thinking two things. Number one, I'm a referee. What's the first thing I do? There's blood all over the ice. I've got a huge decision to make. Let me go look at Joe Pavelski. If he took a stick to the face, he's definitely going to have a mark. It's going to be across his teeth, across his nose. It probably left a mark on his chest. Okay, it's going to leave a mark. It's a hockey stick. If you don't see a mark on his face, well, wow, that cuts up on the side of his head where his helmet was. That couldn't have been the cross check. It's easy. To me, that's an easy decision right there. But then again, if you're a San Jose Sharks player, Dan, you're on the bench, you don't really see very much. And next thing you know, you see Joe Pavelski, your captain, one of the longest standing players in the National Hockey League, a guy beloved by every team and almost every player. You see him going off the ice, bleeding from the head. You see Cody Aiken exiting another portion of the building, and he is gone for the game with a 5-minute game misconduct major penalty. You think, my God, Cody Aiken just basically blindsided and beat up Joe Pavelski. So they're already excited. They've got a power play, but now you've got the emotion of your captain going down and getting abused, and unjustly, because it didn't happen that way. But they don't know it. And if I'm the coaching staff of the Sharks, I'm telling, oh yeah, he slashed him right in the face with his stick. Cross check. And that's the way they played in the Knights. I talked to John Merrill. He's like, we're just kind of like shell shocked. All of a sudden they scored 4 goals. It's like, what the hell happened? Was that kind of, does that kind of play into it?
Yeah, big time. And I think it's not just the coaches, Pete DeBoer and company, and it's, by the way, no fault of the Sharks. I mean, it's a competition. They're trying to do everything they can within the rules to earn a victory. So I have no problem with anything that San Jose did in this whole sequence. Joe Thornton is the guy, turns 40 years old in July. Joe Thornton is on the ice in all this, and you could plainly see what he was saying to the referee.
5 minutes.
That's got to be a major. That's got to be a major. So he's lobbying hard to the officials. And as you know, the 2 referees who were assigned to the game and blew the call are now sent home. They are not working any of the remaining games. Eric Furlat, Dan O'Halloran. And frankly, I mentioned Kerry Frazier earlier, the longtime NHL referee who has admitted making mistakes, a couple of big ones. But he also said, I never made a mistake by guessing. If I missed something, if I didn't see it, I can live with that if I just missed the call and I blew it. But I never guessed. These officials guessed, and they were influenced, unfortunately for the Golden Knights, they were influenced by what the opposing team, in this case the Sharks, were saying, and the fans throwing things on the ice. And some officials, frankly, are more impressionable than others. And Kerry Frazier had said earlier that day, before the game even started, he was surprised to see those officials assigned to the game, one in particular, because of that fact and how certain officials in certain situations are more impressionable. That person would be assigned to a Game 7 was not advisable. And so the league has taken that into consideration and is not assigning those 2 referees to the next round. And, it's interesting, Brian, because you
hey, Dan, real quick, I got it. Dan, if you'll hang on with us for 1 second, I really don't want you to hang up yet. We got to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Problem.
This is the Vegas Take on Brian Feldman, sitting in for J.D. Sharp and Brian Shapiro. We'll be back after this with more. And Dan Duva, if you're giving us a call, hang on. We haven't forgot about you. We'll be right back.